You believe from the river to the sea, Palestine should be free, correct?
Correct.
I believe from the river to the sea, Israel should be free. Does that contradict one another?
Shouldn't. I am Muslim. There are verses in the Quran that explicitly state that Jews lived in Palestine and they do belong to Palestine.
If you're from Yaffo, you very well know that the majority of Palestinians from Yaffo have Jewish ancestry, okay? You probably have Jewish ancestry yourself. Yeah. And most Israelis don't even know that. How are you? Nice to meet you.
First of all, I saw you guys there in the debate, and when you guys walked down there, the reason I did not intervene is because you guys were in the middle of the topic. I love the way you're standing. You're trying to encourage the idea of coexistence, but I personally don't think, it's ever going to happen. If you think it's going to happen, could you please explain?
First of all, thank you for engaging. What's your name, by the way? Osama. Rudy. Where are you from?
Palestinian.
Nice.
From Yafa.
Oh, my cousin. So, the way I see it is that we have four options on the table. Option number one, all Israelis kill Palestinians, all Palestinians kill Israelis. That means one population is going to be destroyed. Yeah. Option one. Option two, all Israelis kick out Palestinians, all Palestinians kick out Israelis. One side is going to be expelled. Option two. Option three is we continue the status quo. Right, what we currently have, we just continue it, and people are suffering on my side, people are suffering on your side.
Ends up to the
Option number four is we build a reality that is based on what are the solutions that both people need, and what are the aspirations, and what are the injustices that face, and correcting that. That is option four that has never been tried, and something that someone may call utopian, but everyone who changed history were told that they were utopian. And because they didn't believe in them, they were able to change history.
So what are the steps taken by the Israeli government to work on step four? Because so far, from my side, I've been seeing step 1, 2, and 3 together.
I agree with you on both sides. I want step four. I don't think the solution will come from the Israeli government.
I agree.
I don't think the solution will come from Hamas. I don't think the solution will come from the Palestinian Authority. It's not going to come from the people who are currently in power. Could there one day be a representation of Palestinians and a representation of Israel on a governmental level that would be players? Maybe.
Yeah.
But right now we don't have. So I do not see the change coming from the government. I see the change coming from the people. If we influence enough of the populations on both sides to understand that you are my family, right? Another Australian white person here, that's maybe a fellow human being, but you're actually my cousin. I need to care about you the same way you need to care about me. And can we envision a reality where the aspirations that I have can exist with the aspirations that you have? Yes, if we actually know. Most Israelis don't know what your aspirations are as Palestinians and experience your aspirations as a removal of ours. You want the right of return for all Palestinians, am I right?
Well, yeah, hopefully.
Most Israelis, if they hear that, they think, oh, well, you're going to come and you're going to take over our land and take it over. But that's not what you're saying. I know. But that's what they experience because they haven't spoken to enough Palestinians because not enough Palestinians have spoken to them.
I agree.
And most Palestinians will hear Zionism and think that means Palestinian suffering. When I say Zionism, I mean Zion is from the Torah. Zion means Yerushalayim, means Jerusalem. It's literally another word for saying Jerusalem. If someone supports Zionism, they support the idea that Jews should have a right to return to Jerusalem.
Okay.
That's what I mean when I say Zionism. I'm not saying that you shouldn't live there. So because we're not having those conversations, because we're not understanding each other, because we're not humanizing each other and even understanding that we're family, we end up thinking that we're opposed to each other. Okay. And the source of where this started, in my opinion, is from the British. I've said it in a few conversations. I don't know if you heard from me.
That I agree.
Okay. The British convinced both of our peoples, our grandparents' generation, that we were a source of each other's pain and we were going to be the source of each other's eternal struggle. So we fought a war, 1948, 1967, 1973, and so on until the war today.
Right.
And that's a consequence of us not evolving from that mindset that we can live together. I do believe it can happen, but I see it coming from the bottom up, not from the top down. If more Israelis and Palestinians were united, locked arms to create coalitions, to change ideas, to change minds, we would eventually see a change that would rise to the top.
Okay, so what are the steps that should be taken from the bottom up to make that happen?
Okay.
Because based on your argument, one can easily say that if they live in a first world country. But if you're living in Gaza, where, it's an open air prison, you have limited access to water.
Don't like that term, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
They can't move, they can't travel, they're stuck, they're suffering. Yes.
They don't have.
Let's be specific about it, because on the specifics we'll agree.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So they have limited access to food and resources.
Agreed.
They're surrounded by, they're kind of dominated by Hamas. That's why they propagate the ideas. I'm completely with that. But again, you need to think of the people who live there, because you are what you're surrounded by.
Yeah.
And this is the information that they're being given. So
And Israel allows that to happen. Israel could take a Hamas if it wanted to. Why is it only starting now? Why didn't it do it before? Why didn't it free the Palestinians? These are critiques that I have of the Israeli government. Although I don't think the Israeli government created this.
taking down Hamas is a part of point one, which is eliminating all Palestinians.
No, not eliminating all Palestinians.
Explain.
Okay. You believe from the river to the sea, Palestine should be free, correct?
Correct.
I believe from the river to the sea, Israel should be free. Does that contradict one another?
Shouldn't.
Right. So first of all, we remove the inability to travel. We start changing the mindset of both populations to see each other as family. Like when I see a Palestinian, I should feel like, yo, let me go and speak to that person. Like that's my family.
Yeah.
The same way if you met a Palestinian, right away there's that connection. Between Jews, right away that's connection. In our generation, inshallah, there will be a reality where a Palestinian meets an Israeli and right away there's that connection because we're both connected to this land. So we start changing ideologically, and Israel has to start playing a role that it's the salvation to Palestinians, not the suffering of Palestinians. So we need to start investing in their infrastructure, investing in roads, investing in the ability to have better education and job opportunities. If Israel played a role to protect Palestinians rather than to control Palestinians, Palestinians would be experiencing Israel much differently. If Palestinians had equal rights within society and were respected in Israel, why would they hate Israel to begin with? So the reason they hate Israel is because they experience Israel negatively. But the reason they experience Israel negatively is because there was unfortunately a war in 48 that caused us to be in this situation.
That makes sense.
So the origins is not because Israel exists. The origins is not because Israel wants to do that. The origins is from the war to begin with. And the way to end the war is to shift the mindsets that we have and to build a reality based on the aspirations that we have. So step one is the ideas that will change the mentality and the society. And then it's Israel taking the power that it has, because Palestinians don't have the power, Israelis have the power, using the power that it has to correct the situation. In Gaza and in Palestinian Authority controlled regions in Area A and Area B, if a Palestinian says something against what the government wants, what happens to them? Me and you both know. Right? I have Palestinians that I work with on a day-to-day basis. I make videos with them talking about a future where we can both live together. If I don't blur their faces and change their voices, they disappear the next day. There's no freedom of speech for Palestinians.
Obviously.
Israel has the power to create freedom of speech. If a Palestinian goes and kills an Israeli, what happens? The IDF goes and finds that Palestinian. If a Palestinian goes and kills another Palestinian, what happens? Nothing.
Nothing happens.
So why doesn't Israel use its ability and responsibility and its power to go and save Palestinians as well? So I think if Israel started practically using a role where Palestinians experience them as something that protects them, as something that respects them, then they would have a different relationship. The problem with this specific critique is not saying that all the problems are because of Israel,
Correct.
but the solutions can come from Israel today and its power. If the role was reversed and Palestinians were a
I
power,
wouldn't do that.
I would say the Palestinians would have the responsibility to change because you would have the power.
They have the power.
Yeah.
Therefore, they have the responsibility.
Yes?
Have they taken any action?
No. Valid critique. It's something that I critique as well. But that's not all the Israeli people. And the Palestinians don't suffer because Israel exists. It suffers because we're in a matrix of a reality where we're blinded from each other's identity, each other's humanity, and our inability to understand that we can actually live together.
Yeah.
So that is the source of where that comes from. All the wars are symptoms of the source.
Obviously.
If you go and correct the source, just like a doctor, doctors, you're telling them I have pain here, I have a headache, they're going to try to probe to see where the source of the disease is in order to cure it. You don't want to just cure the symptoms, you want to cure the problem so that you don't have any more symptoms. In our conflict, it's not about only dealing with the symptoms, although we do need to deal with the symptoms as well. It's about being sure to do the surgery in order to heal that wound. And the surgery comes from our inability to see each other as human beings, as cousins, and our inability to envision a future that both aspirations are fulfilled. That's where it begins. I believe ideas eventually change populations, eventually change governments.
Well, hopefully, we all hope for that.
I mean, option 4 is inevitable, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Inevitable. There won't be a reality where Palestinians will be destroyed and disappear. There won't be a reality where Israelis will disappear. Will there be many killed on both sides? Yes, if we continue where we're going. There won't be a reality where all Palestinians will be kicked out or all Israelis will be kicked out. Continuing the status quo, me and you know what continues to happen. And option number 4 is trying to build a reality, me and you and others like us, that will change the reality on the ground so that our children will be able to benefit and live a life different than what we inherited from our parents.
Hope for. That's what we hope for.
Not enough people are doing it.
Unfortunately, mainly because the vast majority is on the radical side, at least from the Palestinians. I cannot speak for the Jewish, okay, or from the Israelis, mainly because of the things they've experienced. And some people take it from an approach of spreading awareness, talking about it, letting people know, just like how we're having it right now, but most of them revert to violence and hatred. And this is why I think hopefully it happens. It's inevitable, as you said, but it's going to take a very long time. Very long time.
Look, I always look at the previous enemies of the Jewish people, the, let's say, Germans that exterminated 6 million Jews, from the time where 6 million Jews were killed to 10 years later after the Holocaust, that same civilization was supporting the state of Israel. So if in 10 years we can change the Nazis to turning into people who support a Jewish state, I definitely think we can do it in much less time between cousins who have much more in common and are internal. Like, we've never tried. We've never tried. Name me one person, one time, one effort that we've done to try to build something together. It's either Israel or Palestine. When Palestine, Israel, and Israel is Palestine, we're talking about the same piece of land, and you call it that and I call it that, and it means the same and it doesn't take away. Or a two-state solution, which your people won't accept and my people won't accept. So when have we actually tried to do option 4?
Never.
So let's do it.
Again, it could also never happen because, I'll explain. So you see this
Sign, yeah.
sign right there, yeah? I agree with that.
Jews are indigenous to Israel.
Because I am Muslim, so we believe in the Quran.
And Bani Israel.
And Bani Israel. There are verses in the Quran that explicitly state that Jews lived in Palestine and they do belong to Palestine. Here's my problem.
Yeah.
Jews lived in Palestine, Arabs and Muslims also lived in Palestine, but at that time it was only Jews.
And it was also called Israel.
Yeah, Muslims didn't, they weren't a thing there.
Yes.
Because it was during
1,500 years, yeah.
Yeah. So when you extend it, fast forward, there are Jews that have migrated, correct? So out of the land.
Who've returned, like migrated out.
Yeah.
I would say they were displaced forcefully by the Romans and by the Babylonians and the Assyrians.
Again, I'm not very educated.
Which shows that we have very similar experience, right? There are Palestinians that are in the diaspora out of force, and there's Jews in the diaspora out of force. Our stories are actually very similar.
Correct. Yeah. So, been there, lived there. They originate as Jews, people from the land. But then the generations that are under have been heavily influenced by the environment they've been at.
True.
So for them to come back to Palestine, and for us to see that, we don't see, oh, they're Jews or they're indigenous Palestinians. We obviously always judge by the looks. So we're like, oh, those white people or those Europeans are coming to take our land.
There's many Palestinians with blue eyes and
No. Yeah, again.
Right.
But that's what they're seeing.
Right.
So they have the blonde hair, blue eyes, but again, they culturally blend in there.
Same way Palestinians that have been already 2 generations out that would be coming back in, don't speak Arabic, don't know anything.
Not 2 generations. I'm saying,
No, but the Palestinians that are 2 generations born out.
Sure.
And they might be very, let's say, mentally colonized, right? By them no longer speaking Arabic, no longer, knowing parts of the Palestinian culture and being very influenced by the Western societies they live in. You wouldn't say based on the fact that they are, experienced mental colonization that they should not have a right to come back. Right?
Correct.
So I would say the same thing for a Jew that was displaced just because they came back.
I'm not saying it's not
hurt.
I'm saying that's what the Palestinians were thinking. That's their thought.
You want to know why? Because the British convinced the Arab world that Zionism was an extension of European colonialism. And once they did that, the Arab world attached the ideas of Jews returning as inherently the British just extending their arm and controlling this land. Because at the end of the day, the enemies we both had were the British. And how did they convince the Jews, the Israelis, that the Palestinians were our enemies? They appointed Hajj Amin al-Husseini. Do you know who this person is? They appointed Hajj Amin al-Husseini, who was not appointed by the Palestinians, does not represent all Palestinians, who met with Hitler and wanted to kill all Jews. The British, chose this person to be the leader of Palestinians. And what did Israelis hear? Hajj Amin al-Husseini saying that all Jews should be killed. So they come to the conclusion, this is what the Palestinians want, this is their leaders. And so we started to experience the Palestinians as, you guys are our enemies. And the British write the Balfour Declaration, right? In the early 1900s, before the Holocaust, stating that they wanted to create a state of Israel. If this is what you said you wanted to do, why, when you had the Holocaust 20 years later, when the British are allied with the forces that are trying to free the Jews, right, because they were fighting the Germans and the Germans are enemy Jews, if it's in your interest to help your allies be saved and go back to Israel, why in the Holocaust did the British not allow the Jews to go back to Palestine? Why, after the Holocaust, did the British force the Jews not to be able to come back with the white papers? Because the British never had the intention of giving the land to the Israelis. They had an intention to create a document, which is the Balfour Declaration is 1 paragraph and doesn't mean anything. They created this so that the rest of the Arab world can see, oh, you see, the British were behind this. The British wanted to. So what the British did is they convinced both of our grandparents that we were against each other. And the only way we can change that is to convince us, in order to influence our grandchildren, that we're not separate, we're together. And if you're from Yaffo, you very well know that the majority of Palestinians from Yaffo have Jewish ancestry, okay? You probably have Jewish ancestry yourself. Yeah. And most Israelis don't even know that. If we started talking about the similarities that we'd have, and the fact that your ancestors are the same ancestors that I have, our great-great-great-great-grandparents, we're sitting together, we're marrying each other, we're together, okay? Then why would we want to be against each other? But we don't know that.
Talking from a very high level, with what's happening right now, I would like your opinion on that.
For me,
again, I'm against the Hamas attack.
For sure.
We've established that. It's against, everyone's morals and values. No more Hamas implies that, in a way, you're gonna eradicate Palestinians that are in Gaza from existence, because
that's not what we mean. That's not what I mean.
Well,
that's not what any Israeli that I know means.
I know on a personal level, we have a lot of things in common,
right?
But you also have to explain to me what they're doing, because as an IDF soldier that's coming from the war, talking about it, you're representing them.
I represent myself when I speak.
That's firstly, but then you.
And then I can tell you what I experienced. I can tell you what I saw in Khan Yunis and what I saw on October 7th fighting Hamas, okay? There were civilians that we saw, very few, because they had already evacuated from Khan Yunis. We were the first units in. Any civilian that we engaged, we did not attack, we didn't kill, we didn't arrest, we told them to leave the area, okay? Only Hamas militants were the people that we were fighting. When we went in, most of the area was cleared. There were only 3 civilians that we came in touch with. There was a school teacher that crossed the line where the IDF already was and Palestinians knew not to come. He was captured, he was interrogated and was asked, I was there, do you support what happened on October 7th? He's like, killing Jews is in the way of Islam and I'm a teacher. I know it's not the ways of Islam. I know it's not the ways of Islam, but you know that many people think that it's the ways of Islam, especially in Gaza.
Especially in Gaza,
yeah. And in this individual, he wasn't arrested. He has his opinions, which are horrible, but he didn't physically do anything. That's what I saw, the IDF with civilians.
So where were the civilian areas that they were sent?
There was 2 schools where Hamas was there, also operating from, where all the civilians from Khan Yunis were sent and were staying. And I have footage of drones of showing their day-to-day life, of buying the bagels and living their lives and trading. And you also see Hamas going in and out and bringing weapons and going into tunnels and using the place as such. Israel didn't destroy that place because there's too many civilians. If there's the head officer of a Hamas brigade and there's 10 civilians there, they're going to warn the civilians to leave, but they need to take out this Hamas officer and they might go and take out this building, even if they're civilians. But if this is an individual terrorist that's a very low member and there's 100 civilians, they're going to say, okay, it's not worth killing 100. So unfortunately, they're put into horrible scenarios where nothing you do is correct. If you don't do anything, you die. If you do something, someone gets killed. You're in an impossible situation, and that's why war is not a situation anyone should be pushing for.
War is never easy, yeah. Moving forward from that, what do you think the situation is going to be?
I think it'll be a reality where my kids and your kids can be very close friends.
I'm hoping for that as well.
Inshallah.
People that are in Palestine, what do you think is the next step from there?
I see the next step being on the side of Israel, because we have the power, that's the responsibility to change the reality. I see if Israel starts investing and giving a reality for Palestinians that's better, protecting their freedom of speech, investing in their infrastructure, in their education, in their job opportunities, giving them the ability to move from place to place without feeling threatened. Israel's always going to have an army. Inshallah, one day that army will include a representation from your people. But that army should be protecting the people of the land, not controlling the people of the land. So if everything in the experience of the Palestinians was something turned to positive, there would be no reason for most Palestinians to go with the Hamas ideology. Palestinians are going to the Hamas ideology because they think the only way to be...
That's the only thing they've been fed.
Right. That's all they have access to. And they think the only way to get a better future is to kill the Yahud. That's what they think.
Yeah.
Okay? If we changed and showed that the Yahud was their family and that the Yahud was the source to a better life together, there would be no more Hamas to begin with. So this is the source. Hamas is the symptom. Hamas is not the source. You end Hamas, you don't solve the problem. Solve the problem by creating justice for all on all the land.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Nice to meet you, bro.
Hi, Rudy.
How are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You guys have a pen. I would like to get your autograph.
Sure.